Hello everyone, how's it going? So today I'm smoking a tri-tip out back. So I've got about 6 hours of part-time babysitting to do. So I thought it'd be a great time to do kind of a fun video review. Today I'll be giving you my impression of the Council Tool 24-inch Wood-Carft pack axe. Do you need an axe or a hatchet? Maybe not, but I think that they're really cool. I purchased this axe from Omaha Knife. Price was pretty reasonable. They appear to provide great customer service. Look at their reviews, so I decided to purchase it from them. It's not cheap, but if you're looking for sort of a lifetime piece, one you could hand down to your kids, then this is it. The axe itself was about 140 bucks. It did come with a bit cover or a small little mask. I purchased a full sheath with it. There was another 45 bucks, so all in all, about 185 bucks, which included the shipping. To start, as I've said before, I'm more of a gun guy and a knife guy, semi-prepping kind of guy. I'm absolutely not an axe aficionado. An enthusiast, yes, but not an expert in any fashion. So, however, I do love sharp things that are made of steel. So, I'm not going to be doing any chopping with this thing on camera. I'm not knowledgeable enough or qualified in felling techniques or things. There's hundreds of videos out there online where you can see this thing in action if you're interested. Can I chop and split a piece of wood? Yeah, but again, if you get anything out of this video and you're interested in something like this, and I point you in the right direction, then I think it's I've done my job. So I did do a bit of research before purchasing this axe. There's several top shelf manufacturers out there. Ones like Grand Force Brooks, Holtzbrook, both are made in Sweden. There are a couple of better known high-end manufacturers of axes and hatchet and woodland tools. I went with this Council Tool axe. It's also very high quality. It is made here in the USA, which you know is very important to me. It's a great axe. I think it's a good thing to be able to bring like Wood-Carft back to this country. You know, stuff that we don't really do anymore, but if you can get your kids out in the forest, you know, use this to chop and make a fire and make something to eat and just kind of get back to nature. I think it's always a positive. So anyway, let's get started. It did come with an outer box. This is an inner box, so this is exactly how it came. This is the sheath. We'll go over that in a minute, the full sheath. Additional parts inside, it says. So here's the small little mask that covers the bit. We'll go over that in a second. Comes with a pretty cool little catalog. I haven't even really looked at this yet, but interesting stuff about the company, how to care for it, warranty information. So kind of a neat little extra. Nothing else in there. Okay, so where do we start? So one thing I read is that John Pickett Council started the company in 1886. So they've been around more than 130 years. The company is still run by the family today, fourth and fifth generation family members in Lake Waccamaw, North Carolina. I really love handmade quality tools. I think for prepping, everyday use, camping and such, you should own a few things. You know, a good folding knife for one, a good fixed blade knife, a decent chopper, like camp style knife that I reviewed a while ago. Not high end, but very versatile. A compact saw, you know, like a Borland 2, I think it is, something I'm looking at. Maybe I'll get one of those and review it. And an axe or a hatchet, not necessarily a big giant hatchet you had maybe in your garage when you were a kid, axe, but you know, something this size and maybe a smaller hatchet. And maybe I'll do a little review on a Council Tool hatchet as well. So this thing I saw came nicely packaged in that well-written guide, you know, something I'm gonna go through. Let's take a look at this thing. So this thing came out in 2016, and it was actually designed by a guy named Craig Roost, who took this design to Council Tool, and they built it. It really does have a great fit and finish looking at this. One thing I'm just noticing is that you can see the heat treating here on the bit here, which is neat. Council Tool also makes quite a few products for both state and federal forestry departments. So I think this is a real great product. You know, looking at it, it's, you know, reminiscent of a time when you had to rely on the forest to provide you with the things you need to survive. So specifications. So overall, this thing is about 23.5 inches end to end. The handle itself is about 20 inches. The head is about 3.5 inches tall and about 6 inches wide. The weight of the head is about 2 pounds, with an overall weight of about 2.5 pounds. I don't know if you can see it here, but stamped on this side, it's stamped USA, and the other side has got the Council Tool logo embossed here and forged in. So one thing I'm noticing, I really like how the bit fans down here. I think this is pretty neat. You know, you can get a gloved hand in here to choke up on this thing pretty well. So they give you this room in here, which is really neat. The head itself is forged of deep hardening 5160 steel, which is actually an alloy steel versus like say 1060, which is simple carbon steel that's used on most axes. There isn't much difference between the two steels, but adding chromium and silicone to the mix makes them act quite differently. The chromium adds to the rust resistance and makes the steel harder than 1060. I remember one time hearing a funny analogy on the two steel types. Basically went like with 5160 and 1060 being very similar. Remember that men and women are genetically nearly identical. That little extra piece of DNA to make the Y chromosome into an X chromosome makes a huge difference. So same with a little chromium in this steel. Both the bit here and the pole are hardened to about 54 Rockwell. Very nice hardened. We'll take an edge again if you have to. So you saw this little nice little rubber edge guard that came over the bit. So this axe comes out of the box. It is very sharp to begin with. On this edge is a 25-degree double bevel flat grind. Like I said, the pole here is also heat treated and as well as extended. If you can see here, it is extended quite a bit from the back of the eye, which is really cool. It's great for like pounding in some stakes without doing too much damage. Again, it's hardened, which will help. The extended pole also helps balance this axe nicely. One-handed, this thing is very, very well balanced. So it also it's got some of these phantom bevels you can see right here. So there's this phantom bevel along the top of the cheek. It's on both sides. So this phantom bevel helps reduce friction, stops the axe from getting stuck. So if you jam it into something, it gives you some operating room where you can pull it out, which will save you some energy, less fatigue. The spine itself is between the toe and the top of the eye, has this 90-degree edge, which is perfect for striking a ferro rod along here. So it's a sharp 90-degree edge that you can use to strike on that, which is pretty cool. The head itself is secured to the handle. It's got a nice, let me get it in here, you can see it, a nice real centered piece of softwood. And it also has a nice steel wedge in here. The handle itself is made from quality raw hickory. It's got like a nice, we'll call it like a fawn's foot shape to it. Very nice shoulder up here below the eye. It's got a real nice palm swell down here. So right in here, very nice palm swell. And this palm swell is actually in both directions. So you can see it. It's actually got, you can see the thickness here as it gets thinner. And of course it's thicker here and gets thinner here. But it's got a really nice palm swell in both directions. What that means is that they had to start with a much wider piece of wood in here to get this palm swell down here. So, you know, they had to start with this wider piece of wood and mill it down. With some axes, the swell is not as wide here. So they save some money by keeping it thin all the way along, but you know, this just shows a bit of extra care and cost has been put into this. So again, if it doesn't have that, it's less costly to produce. Although this is a thin handle here in the middle, I got pretty good sized hands. Not that they're thick hands, but I've got big hands. But I'm going to say that this is still very comfortable in my hands. So again, I'm not an expert. I've read that this handle has got nice grain orientation. So you can see where the grain is straight in here. So I've never heard of that before, although I can understand what it means. I think it's less important down here as it is up here, where you see the grain orientation. I can see it straight along here. So I think it's much more important for the grain orientation, you know, up here around by the eye. And you can see where they really press this thing into here too. So it's been press fit. Of course, there's no wiggle in here at all. So it's been fitted in here very nicely. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a few coats of boiled linseed oil on this to protect it, as well as a bit of tape around here to protect the shoulder from any overstrikes. So, you know, I think a good axe or hatchet help you from ruining your knife. But again, a small little buck saw, I think that Boreal 2 saw would be really great when you're doing some bushcraft woodland activities. So this axe, you know, can be used one-handed. You can choke up on here real nice, you know, for chopping or shaving or splitting. I think it's an ideal camp axe for making feather sticks and splitting wood. Like I said, it does come with this stock little bit mask. It's riveted and sewn. Seems to be a pretty good quality piece. So I can get that on there. Yep. So I can get that on there, okay. It's got the council tool name embossed on there, but it is riveted and stitched pretty well. So I did buy this premium leather sewn and riveted snap-on mask. It's a full mask. Covers you know, the entire head. Was optional. One thing I did see is that these covers are made by Weaver, which is another great company, US company, very good quality. So I think that's really it for now. I think I'll put a couple coats of linseed oil on this handle and see how she turns out. So we'll be back once that's done. Okay, so here she is. We did get the 3 coats of boiled linseed oil, or flaxseed oil. That's what it really is. Put on here today. Reminds me of high school wood shop. I love the smell of linseed oil. It's great. Anyway, got 3 coats of it put on here. One thing I wanted to mention is that I basically just put rubber gloves on and lathered linseed oil on here, let it set for a little bit. And then you always have to remember to wipe all the excess off. It's not going to dry if it's just coated in linseed oil. It'll just kind of get all gummy and messed up. So, you know, put it on liberally and then let it set for a little bit, a few minutes, and then wipe it off and let it dry. And I repeated that 3 times. So it'll protect it, gives it a little bit of a finish and a grip on it, but for the most part seals up all the grain here and will protect it. So one thing I want to say is, you know, when you talk about linseed oil, it's really not boiled either. It uses a chemical reaction to set up. Even, you know, most of the drying agents have been removed out of these paint products these days. But one thing, you don't want to leave a soaked rag of linseed oil around. It does heat up as it dries and can cause a fire if not properly disposed of. So anyway, like I said before, this comes with a pretty good edge on it. Gonna take our Norton sharpening stone, see if I can get a little bit better. You know, I don't might get it to a razor sharpness, but you know, we'll try to play around with it. I also recommend this Norton sharpening stone. One thing also is on this full sheath, the slots in here for a belt are about not quite 2.5 inches, so for a 2.25 inch belt will fit through this thing. Again, this is really nice. I'm glad I made the investment and bought this. So anyway, heavy duty snaps. Slides on here. Anyway, fits pretty tight right now. Eventually, if I wear it in a little bit, I'm sure it'll be a little more loose. But anyway, well, listen. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, please like or dislike, leave me a comment, and please subscribe. So, again, thanks for watching, and hope you bring you another video real soon.